Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to ladies and gentlemen. No matter where you are, I hope you guys are well. Welcome to ARCHIDEX Fast Forward webinar web series. My name is Kumar Sylvester Makajul, a MASA representative, and I will be your MC for today. Firstly, I would like to thank ARCHIDEX 2021 for giving MASA an opportunity to conduct this session. We are pleased to have this collaboration with ARCHIDEX. So for those who don't know what MASA is, I hope you can lend an ear as I explain further. So MASA stands for Malaysian Architecture Student Alliance and is a non-profit student committee operating directly under Putuban Architect Malaysia, or PAM, consisting of students representatives from all architecture institutes in Malaysia. It is a platform where Malaysian architecture students join forces to learn and share with appreciation of the past, generating sustainable living in the present, and bringing unlimited possibilities to the future. Our mission is to develop an effective platform and network between Malaysian architecture students and professionals. So we serve as liaisons between students and PAM. All right, so now let us welcome our special guest for today. We present to you once again the chairman of PAM Education Committee, Architect Ardianta Aziz, and the one and only Architect Makiko Hoshima, who will be talking to us on the topic Architecture Beyond Instagram. To begin with, let's welcome Architect Ardianta Aziz to say a few words. Hi, Architect.
All right.
Hi, Architect Ardianta.
Hi,
How are you?
Fine. How are you, Guma?
Yeah, I'm good. Good to see you. So I'll pass the floor to you now. Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you, Guma, for your introductions. Greetings, everyone. Such a wonderful evening in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Today, 22nd of January, 2021. Welcome to ARCHIDEX Online. Now live for you to discover, source, connect 24/7. My name is Architect Ardianta Aziz, Chairman of PAM Education Committee, Malaysian Institute of Architects. On behalf of PAM Education Committee and also on behalf of Acacia Committee Architectural Education, ACAI, I would like to say thank you to all viewers, students, academicians, researchers, or professional architects, and all of you to our tonight's session, ARCHIDEX Fast Forward webinar series Education, brought to you by ARCHIDEX Online, joint organized by PAM and hosted by Malaysian Architecture Students Alliance, MASA. Well, tonight session will be very interesting topic that resolves around architecture that is beyond in this digital age. Well, digital age has a wide scope. It's likely that you have heard of buzzwords like artificial intelligence, AI, automations, big data, insurtech, Internet of Things, IoT, and cloud. So these are just some of the streams that come under the digital age umbrella. Well, one definition that I simply defines that digital age or information age as the time when large amounts of information are widely available to many people, largely through computer technology. Regardless of the pandemic situation now, the world of architecture continues in the digital world, from Instagram to TikTok or even Pinterest. All right, tonight we have a special guest, my good friend from Tokyo, Japan, our speaker, Architect Mikako Oshima, hailing from the land of the rising sun, Japan. She is a senior architect at Nihon Seikei Incorporated, one of the leading architecture firms in Japan. Since joining the firm in 2012, she had provided leadership for finding creative ideas and pursuing beauty and quality of life to design challenge based on her worldwide experiences. Prior to joining Nihon Seikei Incorporated, she worked at Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, SOM, in New York office, Esmond Architects in New York City, as well as Fennell Architects in Paris, and she lived in New York City, Paris, and Chicago before moving back to Tokyo. Architect Mikako's work as an architect has covered a wide variety of projects throughout the United States, Europe, Middle East, Asia, and Japan, including local government assembly hall, commercial, large-scale mixed-use, transportation terminals, hospitality, stadium, and education facility. Her work has received numerous awards and recognitions, and she has been a design critic for architecture schools and given seminars and lectures at universities and forums. Well, with her title tonight of the talk, Architecture Beyond Instagram, which depicts when we all were stuck at home in 2020. So what about this year, 2021? Will vaccines for COVID-19 will be available soon? Or can we travel this year like before this happened? In this Instagram or TikTok age, we can travel through Google Earth and find any kind of cool building images on Pinterest. Is this what architecture is all about? So through her experience in the US, Europe, and Asia, she will talk about her beliefs in architecture by showing some examples of Japanese architecture. And also, she will share some recent works and explain how she approaches when she designs buildings. All right, so sit back, everybody, relax, gain a positive energy, and enjoy this sharing session. And if you have any question, feel free to ask them in the comment or even chat sessions, and you will try to answer them at the Q&A session at the end of today's talk. Well, without further ado, so let's welcome architect Mikako Oshiba. Konnichiwa, Mikako-san.
こんにちは、こんばんは。元気
Yokoso. Welcome. Okay, Kiska, how are you?
Good, very good. How are you? How's life?
Thank you so much, Architect Mikako. Thank you for your time when I, chat with you that you agreed to join us tonight, and then you said, okay, we were so honored and we're so happy to hear that you joined us tonight, spend a bit time. I heard that Tokyo now a bit chill, yeah?
Yes, it's in
Really
winter
chill.
now. One of the coldest time of the year.
All right, okay. So, all right, Mikako, I hope that everything is under control at your side, and then we are so happy to hear from you. So, without further ado, Mikako, yeah. So, after you visit in Kuala Lumpur, I think last 2 years ago. So tonight is your show. So architecture in Instagram. So let's talk about it. The floor is yours now.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Adrianta. You are the greatest showman ever. I thought you are like Hugh Jackman or whoever. So thank you for ACAE from Arcadia. This is my biggest pleasure to be here and to share a little bit of what I think in architecture. And it's
Okay.
but we are under the state of emergency. So either on Friday night, people are probably at home as well in Tokyo. And when I was a student, I was never at home on Friday night. So I'm so like impressed of you guys sitting in front of a computer at home. So hope you enjoy. And today it's Friday, so I'm not gonna talk about serious stuff. So just have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, relax, and just listen what I'm gonna show now. And today I'm gonna focus on a little bit more like idea part because Adrianta yesterday said he's gonna invite me in the real ARCHIDEX event probably next year or who knows when it will be. So I would like
we sorry to disrupt you. We're having a audio problem.
Can you hear
Are you
me?
okay now? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I can
Cool.
hear you. Yes.
All right.
Can
Cool. Okay.
you guys hear me?
Yes. Just now we missing the points here. Okay. All right.
Okay,
Continue.
perfect. All right. So architecture beyond Instagram. That's something that I want to talk about. And before we get started, I'm gonna talk about a little bit of myself because you never know who I am. So my name is Mikako Oshima. I am an architect, registered architect here in Japan. Also, I hold a lead AP as well as well AP. And as Adrianta explained a little bit about me, I was born in little city near Kobe, and I studied also in Kobe for my bachelor degree, and I went to Chicago to do my master. And from that school, I was able to go to Paris to study and to have some internships. Then I moved to New York after that, and now I'm back in Tokyo. And what do you think of architect? How do you imagine architect? For you, the architect is someone like Toyo Ito, or Zaha Hadid, like sitting in this beautiful chair, or someone like Big. Maybe for you guys' generation, Big will be the biggest popular figure currently, probably. And architect is you think that always thinking about a project with having huge headache, usually about money, and figuring out the time schedule, what client says, and all this. What do you think? Me? Not at all. Maybe you can tell like how I am and how Adrian explained to you guys. So just for you to feel closer to me, what kind of student was I back when I was in school, like you guys? Was I studying in the library, you think? Or I was having a coffee with my friend in a cafe? What do you think? Yes, definitely. I was this person. Then having coffee, always in a cafe, talking with my friend, not never about architecture, more other stuff. And my student life, my interest when I was a student. In Kobe, we have great pastries, a lot of great bakeries. So I was always looking for the best bakery in the city or best pastry in the city, and always having a coffee in a cafe. And my interest was more fashion. Like Vogue was my like Bible back then. And also the wallpaper, I think still there is. It's a design magazine about interior. Reading these books. So maybe something familiar to you? Yes. So I could be one of you. This is a photo actually my friend Danny that's looking at here. Also Adrian's a great friend. Student visited my office about 3 years ago. So next time you guys come. A little bit more about me, my background when I was born. So I would say that my DNA. So my father was a physicist, and my mom was studying. Actually, my mom was a housewife, but she studied about lifestyle design. So actually, she was the one for the first time in my life taught me about Le Corbusier or Tadao Ando. So she actually kind of brought me to this like design field. So that was when I was a kid. Also, my parents were quite busy for whatever the reason. I was always at my grandparents' house. And my grandfather was a civil engineer, something connected to architecture as well. And my grandma was a painter. So she was always drawing this beautiful Japanese painting, like what I'm showing this one. This is not from my grandma, but and next to her, I had always sketchbooks with the color pencil and origami paper and scissors, and I could spend like hours and hours playing with this. So probably my architecture lesson 101 came from there. So my student life was more like this, never thinking about architecture. Up until when I was a third year student. So we have 2 semesters, and then the second semester, I met this architect called Koichi Kashiwagi. He was an architect, the principal architect in one of the biggest construction firm in Japan. And he suddenly showed up in my school. I mean, he's quite known in Japan. And he showed up in school with this figure with hair like this. I was like, who the heck is this guy, you know? So for me, he was more like philosopher than architect. And this studio, he was talking about always about concept. And it was solid 3 months of conceptual training. And we had other studios, and next to our studio, my friend was drawing plans or sections and elevation. When we are talking, we are in the studio class, but in my team, our studio, we are only talking about concept. You know, where is this going? But actually, he was the one explaining about all this contemporary art because topic was the art school in industry area that inspires student brain. You know, this was the topic in the architecture studio. It's very strange, right? But because of that, he was talking a lot about conceptual art to this land art and talking about starting from Donald Judd, Walter de Maria, Richard Serra, James Turrell. And this was really like my eye-opening experience. And I was like, kind of like, wow, you know, this is very interesting. And architecture is probably a little bit more interesting than I thought. So that was like my first architecture lesson from architect, I would say. So in my school, we had like probably like 120 students. And in the end of the semester, each studio, professor picks 2 to 3 students as a finalist presentation. So for some reason, I was picked. And I was like, why me? You know, my project was not great. You know, I thought even for me that I think, and I'm like, why he chose me? You know, it was weird. And then in the presentation, each student presented, professor explained why he or she chose this person. And what he said was, because I was the most stubborn student, and I didn't change the concept from the day one, because I didn't change it. It's not bad, but I loved it or anything, but I believe that was thing that I wanted to do. So that was, I was chosen as a finalist. So be stubborn is like one of the key to architecture. Because when, you know, like when now I work as an architect in a big architecture firm, and so we have many different clients, very difficult client as well to very nice client. You have to convince your idea, and you have to make the beautiful story to present to your client, and ultimately they will pay for it. So be stubborn is sometimes good things to be. And after this third year classes, in my school or in Japan, usually in the 4th year, before you go into the master's degree, you usually do the final project. And this was actual drawing that I did when I was in the 4th student. Back then, around like probably 20 years ago, computer drawing was not so popular. It was getting there. But still, in school, most of the students was drawing by hand, and only like probably we are like back then was probably 80 students. Out of 80 students, only 4 students were using computer, and this was my drawing. And back then, Lemcool has the biggest idol. Maybe for you guys, it's big now, but so I have little bit influence from those drawings, so I can see that now. And this was a project I picked. We had to pick the site. Also, we had to pick the program function and why you do this project. So everything you had to come up from zero. So I picked this site in Kobe, in the center of Kobe, one of the tourist area. And then I had discussed with the professor like why I'm going to do this. And actually, there was already like city fabric is completed. It's quite mature area because there's already like fashion district to tourist spot to music hall to what retails and everything. So my professor said, I mean, you don't need to build anything new here. But somehow I was really fascinated to this area, so I wanted to do something. So what I came up with was I picked it up one of the block. I did actually 3 case study, picking up the 3 blocks. This is one of the drawing that I did as a case study. And actually this great building like this is already built. And there was a lot of like empty spot in this block. So I used those blocks as like my block inserting position, and then connecting this with the existing function, and then this existing function was already all. So adding new function or a new program into the old fabric. That was my project. So it's almost like this existing function will like infect the neighbors, and then the entire neighborhood become better. This was my concept. And then somehow we had to submit this design competition, final project design competition, including all the art students, like fashion to photography to draw, painting to sculpture to architecture to textile design. All the art or architecture students could submit this project, the final project. And I was not the best project of all, but I was chosen as the best architecture project. Surprising. And the reason that they chose my project was a bit unrealistic. But one of the juries said being a young student is one of the biggest opportunity to do this kind of a little bit almost guerrilla project. That's why I was be chosen. So sometimes you go a little bit more than you think. Then I decided to go to America, and I was able to study this beautiful Mies van der Rohe building, and I explained in his building almost day and night because we had to do so many projects and assignments, and I was able to experience this building. Then from that school, not Emily, but Mikako was in Paris. From my school, we had this scholarship program that allow you to travel around Europe. So with 1 semester, I was living in Paris, but almost every week I was in a different city. I was in Spain, I was in Stockholm, Berlin, France, where did I go? Denmark, Finland, Italy, Portugal, like everywhere you think of good architecture is, I was able to travel. So this was very, I was very glad that I was able to do this kind of experience because I saw so many great spaces. So this is built up in my brain drawer. So still I remember this, for example, this beautiful plaza in Siena in Italy, or I still remember the weather and the light coming into this space in Portugal, Lisbon. This is from a great project from Albert Caesar, or of course famous Longchamp church in south of France. And then after I graduated, I was happy to graduate this school. And also I did a little internship for around half year in a small architecture firm in Paris called Fanier Architect. And he's an Italian. He was an Italian architect and having very small office, maybe 2 to 3 people. And then after I graduated school in Chicago, I decided to go to New York. And then back then it was like still they had the economic damage from the September 11th. So it was a bit difficult to look for a job. But this by chance, this Fanier architect was a local architect when Peter Eisenman does the competition in France. So I had this little connection by chance, and I was able to go into this Peter Eisenman's office. And Peter Eisenman, maybe your generation doesn't know him much, but maybe you can Google it afterwards. And he's more like theoretical architect, always think about theory of architecture. So I worked there for about 2 years, thinking about a lot of theory, also doing a lot of competitions. And so I was like kind of enough to learn about theory. And then I decided I wanted to do a little bit more practical architecture. So I decided to apply SOM. So big office like SOM, so many people apply every year, every month, every day. So you have to be kind of be lucky. I mean, of course you have to be good, but you have to be lucky to be able to select it. So my CV was passed this lady from Switzerland, and still she's like my best boss I ever had, and still we are good friend after both quit the office. And she received my CV, and next to her, by chance, my former colleague from Peter Eisenman was sitting next to her. You know, this is amazing, you know. So she naturally asked him who I was, how I was, and then he gave her a good comment. So she decided to interview me. That's how I got into SOM. You never know where the opportunity comes from. So this was one of the projects, and I was working in the Adamant office. This is the City of Culture in Galicia, this crazy project. They're going to be a 6 building, and I worked on 3 of the building around the construction time. So I was always checking this soffit, we call it soffit, was not crashing in the column. That was one of the earliest architecture experience in the real world. And so I was able to work on many international projects. This is a four-season hotel, 5-star hotel, of course, in Bahrain, Middle East, like this. This is already completed. Denver Union Station in Colorado in the US. Mumbai Airport, a little bit also, I was able to work on it. I was almost cried when I went there for the first time in my life. It's beautiful. So, I always say yes to all the opportunity that I was given. You never know. You know, like when you are busy, you always want to make an excuse like, oh, I'm busy, I cannot go. Or, for example, today's lecture, I'm like in the middle of the deadline. Like next week, I had to submit my construction drawing. But of course, if Adriana asks, I have to say yes. So please say yes to every opportunity. Whatever brings you a bell, you have to say yes. And meet as many people as possible, because one opportunity bring another opportunity, one person bring to next person, and everything is connected in the architecture world in the global scale. So say yes and meet as many people as possible. And let me talk about a little bit of my farm, the Nihon Sekkei, where I currently work. And you always guys make a mistake as Nihon Sekkei and Nikken Sekkei. Okay, Nikken Sekkei is one of the biggest office architecture firm in Japan. Nihon Sekkei, us, as we said, probably we are the second the largest office in Japan. And Nihon means Japan. So apparently, the Sekkei means design, architecture design. So apparently, our office is translated as Japan architecture design. So we are representing Japan. So how we started our office in 1968, about 55 years ago. This is the first high-rise building in Japan, and only 150 stories. This is the Royal Palace, still is. And one in the background, and so then the person, the 40 people that was working on this building decided to get independent, because back in the late 60s, early 70s, Japan was growing as an economic boom after the World War II. So we had always this like, we're going to have a new future. So there was a spirit that the young architect had back then. So these 40 people said, okay, whole new architecture, new age, we need to have a new type of the architecture firm, not like Mr. Whoever, working for Mr. Whoever. So each one of us is Nihon Sekkei. We have no like master, like the god architect in my office. Each one of us is the one that representing the office. And currently we have around 1,000 people, maybe too big, but we have. And some of the project I will explain quickly is that what we did. This is completed in 2014, the tallest high-rise building in Japan now, Tranamon Hills. One on the right-hand side is the AO building in Tokyo. Also, we have a lot of the outstanding Japanese firms headquarters, starting from Nissan. And also, we do a lot of project, school project. This was a primary school in Tokyo. The one on the right-hand side is the University of Indonesia. And then below is the art school in Niigata. And then also we do a lot of cultural facilities, like one in this like UFO shape is the Cartoon Museum in north of Japan. And if you are the big Ghibli fan, there's a Ghibli museum in Japan, and okay, all the drawing came from the Studio Ghibli, but someone had to sign it and someone had to build it. So we are the architect for that, but drawing came from them. And then also National Art Center, we worked with Kishokuro Tower. This is a beautiful project. It's a very small aquarium, only with jellyfish. No other fish, only jellyfish. To cultural center, to a lot of sports domes, to sports facilities. To also, back in 2010, we worked on the Shanghai Expo Japanese Pavilion. So now, little bit, maybe you are a bit relaxed more with my talk, and let's talk about a little bit more architecture. So architecture beyond Instagram. Currently, you can Google everything, and you can find any kind of image on the iPhone like this. And those are the photo like the most famous building I would say all over Japan. And this is Kenzo Tange's 1964 Olympic Gymnasium, Tadao Ando Church, of course. Toyo Ito's Mediatek in Sendai. This is done by Sana, actually in Nishizawa in the Toyoshima, near Naoshima. Art installation to the one that I show. The TOTS building from Toyo Ito, Herzog and Mouron's Prada, to serial bands, Mount Fuji Visitor Center. Actually, I've never been here. I want to go there. So, what is architecture? What image do you have in Japan? What do you imagine if you hear about Japan? Probably maybe sushi. It comes on the top on the list. Probably, or for example, Zen Garden, or maybe some of you visited Japan at the cherry blossom season, which is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And or maybe some of the guys love to watch the sumo fighting. What do you think? What are your thoughts? Compared to Malaysia, let's say, this is the chill club photo that actually I love. I want to have it now, actually, and Adrian would know very much about that. Yes. And then we have sushi. So compare these two, the seafood dish. And this Malaysian tea club has a lot of like chilies, like you never know how many they put. Versus sushi, you just cut the piece of fish. Very simple, no? So that's the big difference from other cuisine, and also culturally. So everything is quite pure, I think, or not touched, or so we didn't do much, but we just kind of like make it sophisticated. That's what we have. In going back that image, for example, like I said, sushi, just, you cut a piece of fish and that's it. And you put it in the rice and that's the sushi, Nothing else, not even heating it. Okay, now they sometimes heat, but originally it's just cut the fish and put it in on the rice bowl. Or Zen Garden, they only have stones, nothing else, no fancy lighting, nothing, just stone and moss and the rocks. Very simple. Cherry blossom, it's just flower that blooms every year at the same time of the year. Sumo fighting, no gears, no racket, nothing. It's simple, just body to body, almost naked, That's the fighting style. So everything is basically like very like raw or pure, the concept of Japanese culture. And also big difference between Japan and Malaysia is we have 4 seasons. So without doing anything, the scenery around ourselves, especially in the nature, changes. From spring to summer, summer is very hot. You never want to come. And autumn is very beautiful, this color rift. And winter, especially in the north part, we have snow. So naturally, scenery changes in doing nothing. Just by looking at the window, if you have a tree, the scenery changes. So that's how you feel the season. So our culture, this nature or this 4 seasons is very it's attached to our culture. So it's always back on front and back. It's you always think about this nature when you do in daily life, I would say. So and also the tea ceremony is one of the traditional Japanese culture that we have. Maybe some of you love this matcha frappuccino, whatever that you can have in Starbucks, but this is the original type that we have traditionally. And this is one on the right hand side is the modern type of tea house. So I would like to talk about a little bit of this tea house. And this is one of the example. This is very famous tea house in Japan. Very small. You can see that this is about 2 meter by 2 meter. So only this 4 square meter. For usually 1 or 2 people sit in this area, and then the tea master or person who makes tea sits here, and then you enjoy this space. This is the one of the photo that you can get the image scale. So this is the entrance you get in. It's very small, only this much. So people are probably this height. So you have to kind of like crawl into the room because room is very small. But by doing that, and then you go in, you feel the space bigger. So that's the whole experience that you experience, and you feel that this space is big. But actually 2 by 2 is very small. So also they have some windows that gets you some light, or you feel your noise from the outside. Maybe trees are moving, or maybe the bird is singing. So this kind of thing that you experience it. So just to enjoy a cup of tea, you feel this nature and you feel this experience of going small space but feeling big. And also you talk some art or have some conversation with the tea master or your friends, or you taste your tea and also smell your tea, and or the whole experience is what you do in this tea ceremony style. That's the origin of tea ceremony, just to have one cup of tea. So this nature and also this light experience, controlling all this gives you new experience to have a cup of tea. And this 2 things that something that as an architect you can create this. So one of the example is, I'm sure that you guys all seen this photo. This one is one in Hokkaido. Water chapel by Tadao Ando. The one on the right I already showed. This is the lighting chapel of light, church of light from Tadao Ando in Osaka. This is also you feel the nature, or you feel the light, and you experience it. And then when I was a student, I was able to go to this house. This is a photo from Luis Barragan, a Mexican great architect from Mexico, and this is his house. And then I had the opportunity to visit this house, and then I saw this window in his bedroom. Now you can visit it. And then I was like, oh my God, I've seen this. I experienced this. Yes, this was the same, experience that Tadao Ando had. Apparently, Tadao Ando also have visited and had an inspiration from that. So, you being experienced this, so you have new idea. And then when I was student, I was looking at this Luis Barragan book and looking at this photo with this pink wall in the house. I was never sure that I mean, why pink or why orange? Sometimes he also used yellow. But when you go to Mexico with this strong Mexican sunlight, it matches. So by just looking at the photo, you never understand why he chose this. But this color was chosen because the sun was very strong. Also Mexican culture, and then considering all this, this matches. So you never know until you go there. You experience the culture. You experience sometimes food. I love tacos as well. And then you experience the light and nature. Then you understand why he chose this color. Also, I was able to go to Stockholm, and then I was able to visit this. It's kind of like monastery. I saw this, and I was like, "Wow, this is same experience that I had this Tadao Ando's water travel image." And you have this connection always. But then you get inspiration, and then you don't copy it, but you use the same experience to it. So experience. First, you have to experience that beautiful space or beautiful architecture and something about your childhood memory, or you have to have a lot of experience to do a good design. So I believe in this having many experience in a different situation, different space, and great architecture. So now I move on to my project. This is the only project I'm going to show today because this is recently completed and then kind of shows like how I approach architecture. And this is the project completed in 2020, Hokkaido Government Assembly Hall. If you have visited in Sapporo, maybe you have seen this red brick building. And in Sapporo, Tokyo is here. Sapporo is in the north. So, for example, now it's very cold, maybe -10 or so. It snows. It's very, very cold. So winter, everything gets white. And then in spring, it's beautiful, and summer is it's great weather. They have no rainy season, so it's never humid, and it's a beautiful prefecture. So this old government building, we had to build this assembly hall behind of this big building. So the famous thing about Hokkaido is great nature. This because they have a lot of farms and great nature. So it's all about nature. And also this is a famous bird that they find in Hokkaido. Also they have a lot of dairy product, the milk, cheese, chocolate, and whatever you imagine from the dairy product, you can have it. You should go there, it's beautiful. And also the great food, from crabs to sushi to ramen noodles to vegetable, especially the sweet corns. So, doing a project in Hokkaido, I always had the image of this Hokkaido beautiful natural landscapes and all this. So the government assembly hall sits in the behind. We have this gridded building, and I was able to walk on this main assembly hall. This building is one basement floor as a parking lot and 6 floors. And this is the last 2 floors. And in Japan, now it's kind of like fashion in the last probably 10 to 20 years, showing this assembly hall as like transparent politics, showing is kind of trend. So we wanted to be able to citizens or local residents to see where the assembly hall is. So we put it in the top. And then also the government, the local government wanted people to access these areas so they can be more familiar to the politics. And also this was built by taxpayers' money. So as much as possible, they wanted to be able to open it. So this lower floor is only for the politicians, but upper deck, people could go visit. I think they still can visit. Maybe with the COVID-19, we don't know yet, but once it's open, you can visit as well. Then we have this observation area, observers area, and then the sky gallery. And section is doing this, so this is the top part. And then the local assembly hall. So I wanted to have some meaning of the project. This is one of the concepts I came up with during the design process. This one, this star with 7 triangles, is the Hokkaido symbol. So always I had this unique image of this symbol. Also that as being the representing building in Hokkaido, I wanted to have this experience of going into wood and seeing these lights through the leaves and this experience. Somehow this image overlaps during my design process. So this is looking up the ceiling, and actually this is looking, one on the top is looking towards the front part of the assembly hall, and then the one below is looking back. So by doing kind of wavy ceiling, every angle you see is a different view. It's never be the same. So that is also presenting each person's opinion. It's never the same. So from entire Hokkaido, you collect all the opinion into this assembly hall, and then you discuss, and this goes back into the citizen or local residents. So that was my concept. And also by chance, these 7 stars becoming into 14 different segments, and Hokkaido's political area is divided into 14. So I wanted to use this 14 and 7 as my design language. So this is the rendering that during our design process, and this is how it was completed. We had a bit difficulty to finish this, so they had to go like this. But it's quite. I was quite happy how this came out, and also we have this brown chair because it's nature, and also the green carpet. Usually, in Japan, this is the one on the left is showing the Parliament building, National Parliament building in Tokyo. Usually, we have the red carpet. And I don't know in Malaysia, but it's typically those politics assembly hall. We have the red carpet. But as Hokkaido, being Hokkaido, I wanted to use the green carpet. So that was the thing I did, and I was very happy with this, how this color came out. So this is my early study rendering. So as I said, looking back and looking front, it's different, it gives you a different experience and different views. This is from another angle. So like I said, different opinion, different angle, but come together into one space. And then this is going to go back to the local residents benefit. This is the same angle that's from after the construction. Looking front and looking toward the side part, it's different. Also, as I said, going to the wood experience, I wanted to have it. So we had this writing shelf here, and this came out quite good. And also, being a Hokkaido, probably you may be seeing this. Today, I focus in having the Tadano image. I don't know why, but it fitted to the topic. And this Buddha, also this is cemetery and has this beautiful lavender field because Hokkaido is very famous with lavender. So when I picked the color of the chair, of course, I wanted to have this Hokkaido beautiful lavender color. So that's why the chair is this color. Our client was very happy with this color coding as well. So then another part, so okay, that was the inside. Another part, we had to make this visitors lobby, and originally our client was just wanted to have a corridor here and nothing else, but people could go. So, but okay, there's taller building in Hokkaido in Sapporo, so then there should be something there so people can go and find something there. So I came up with this sky gallery idea, and on the in 6th floor. So in the childhood memory, you may have like your secret spot in some field, or some people maybe have experienced a tree house. So almost like climbing up this tree house, finding some treasure. That kind of experience that I wanted to have this sky gallery. And originally there was no program. The client never requested this sky gallery, but as my story or my concept, I wanted to have this kind of space. So I presented to my client and they were quite happy with this idea. So we could show the Hokkaido history, or sometimes we can show the local residents art, or we can talk about the history of the tourist spot and this kind of thing. The left-hand side is my rendering, and right-hand side is the actual photo, and it's quite surprising how it came out almost the same, or even better. This is also the rendering, so this is a sky gallery, and Hokkaido's flower is called Hamanasu, has a pink color, so I wanted to use this pink carpet. This is a real photo at night on the right-hand side and daytime on left-hand side. It's quite, I was very happy with this. Looking on the ceiling. So, once now, because we have all this Instagram or whatever, so everything is all about the image or one shot. And sometimes architects said also magazine shot, that is very important, but instead of try to design one like nice perspective, but I try to focus on how people can experience the space. So not just the cool designing a cool space or a nice design. I more design like how people experience. So architecture is not just drawing the plans and the section, but you should think that you are designing the people's experience. So now, I would like to conclude my presentation. So the first thing I said, be stubborn, convince your client, design the experience, and say yes to every opportunity and meet as many people as possible. Are you guys ready for that? So, if you are ready for it, once this COVID is over, please visit us in Tokyo. And in the meanwhile, please visit us on the website, www.nihonsekkei.co.jp. Thank you so much.
Wow, Mikako. You make me to go to Tokyo again. Maybe this time around in Sapporo, in a lot of
Yes,
places.
definitely. You love it. Yes.
Yeah. I miss Tokyo. I miss Japan.
Mm-hmm.
It always seems impossible until it's done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love your presentation this session tonight because you're
Thank you
talking
so
about
much.
life. Life is a trip, Mikako, and traveling is living twice. But I know, I mean, for the architecture student, yeah, I mean, it's important that observation is more than reading books, experience more than person, but actually it's the prime of education. Actually,
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
agree.
You know. And then you're talking about Japanese architecture. I would like to relate what is the Taudo Ando said, that when you look at Japanese traditional architecture, I mean, you have to look at the Japanese culture and also its relationship with nature, and eventually you can actually live in a harmonious, close contact with nature. So that's the unique of the Japanese architecture.
Definitely.
True.
Yes, and like
Beautiful.
I saw Tadawando was showing, like kind of like having the same experience as Mexico or Europe and Stockholm. So actually, it's not just Japan. That's gonna be a global language
Correct.
after all. So that's why I wanted to talk about this today to my
Yes.
students.
Beautiful. I mean, you know, when you give a talk and then you share your experience to all the viewers, I can say that, you know, because you've been surrounding yourself with I think because at the beginning of your speech just now, you've been inspiring by people. That's now you just as important as being talented or just working hard. You know, even though you declare yourself as a stubborn student, but you have, I'm also a stubborn student before. But I believe you have the what we call this being an architect is the reflections on the professions, the passions, not only about design, arts, books, traveling, but life in general. Actually,
Yes.
Yeah,
Also,
large
you
Indian
have
group.
to educate people, to how to live in a good space. Be happy.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be happy. That's why I love to
Mm-hmm.
hear from you, because I totally agree. Because I
Mm-hmm.
always tell many students. I mean, among our friends, fellow architects,
Mm-hmm.
you choose yourself. Either you want to be a great architect or a good architect. But
Mm-hmm.
I choose to be happy architects and healthy
Mm-hmm.
architects.
Me too.
I can see from the screen, Mikako, that I can see that I can see our fellow architects from PAM, Architect Mustafa Kamal is on screen now. And then my good friend from Taylor's University is the Dean of Taylor University,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Veronica, and my good
Mm-hmm.
friend. We studied
Mm-hmm.
together since 1993, Architect Azlin
Wow.
Jamlus. She's here.
Mm-hmm.
Many more. They love
Mm-hmm.
your sharing session tonight.
Oh, thank
Truly,
you,
truly.
thank you. Yes.
Yes. So, okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's a question here
Sure.
to share with you,
Sure.
Mikako. All
Mm-hmm.
right. There's a question saying that how does an architect strike a balance, yeah, between the modern architectures and the traditions of Japan?
Well, when you sometimes you have an opportunity to you have to build it in front of the temple. This may have maybe for you guys, maybe you have to build something in front of the biggest mosque. Or you never know what kind of opportunity comes from. But
Yeah.
sometimes some people ask me how you get inspired of concept. Sometimes, it comes from this idea. Sometimes, I mean, I wouldn't say that suddenly comes from the heaven. But somehow, sometimes the site itself tells me like what to do. I mean, you never be able to go against it. You have to kind of harmonize with what is surrounded, no matter it's old or new. So, for example, like sometimes when I designed building next to the old fabrics, I try to use the same modules, for example, or same pattern, or sometimes same material. I mean, I never copy the exact tempo into next to it because
Yeah.
that's not my interest is, or that's not client is asking. But you always has to kind of like harmonize with the city because architecture is too big
Yeah.
always. So you have a big influence to surroundings. So you have to always think about it. So I would say that you going back to the question that you never go against it, but try to harmonize it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Harmonize it. Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's true. I totally agree with you, because sometimes you been inspired. When
Mm-hmm.
you're being inspired, that's the most important things. You have to imagination and to produce your design process and so on. But this is the common things from, I'm not sure in Japan, is it happen or not, but this in Malaysia is a
Mm-hmm.
very common that the students, I'm sure that you have to agree with me that people like us as an architect, when we start to Google, we always press image first. Am I
Mm-hmm.
right? We're reading through, looking images,
Mm-hmm.
reading from pictures and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very common things happen when the
Mm-hmm.
students look into one particular images and then they inspired that, and then they just, this is a big question mark. Either they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
copycat, either they copycat, or they don't understand what they are doing actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your advice to our viewers, especially for the students, when you look
Mm-hmm.
Instagram, Pinterest, Googles, and many
Mm-hmm.
images? How based on your experience, based on your forte, how you extract your looking the images into your design process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. Because now it's very easy to find any kind of image in here. Actually, I do that every day. Even today I was doing the same. Never copy what someone else did because you're the architect. You are the architect, so you have to start creating something. But from the like Brunelleschi or Michelangelo, you always have a like influence or you get inspired from the buildings. So like I said, instead of copying the exact space or exact the design, I would say that you can get inspired experience, like how you be in this room or you be in this space. So not just looking at the image, so one to another, you start thinking about sequences. So how you go into the building, how you experience what you see when you turn it, you know. I visited the recent project that my friend completed, and then he had a beautiful facade, beautiful facade. Everything is modular, everything. But when I visited his building, it's beautiful building. I've never criticized it. But it was very sad because when I came out from the elevator on the 6th floor, in front of the elevator there was a window, but this Morion window frame was exactly in my eye. You cannot do it. So you always have to think how people experience it. Instead of copying, I would say that you not copy, but you get inspired experience. And instead of now maybe a bit difficult, but as if you can visit that the building that you copied, it's okay. Being a student, you copy, you learn something like you copying. That's okay, or you do the montage, also one of the architecture design method. So get inspired, it never copy, but get influenced or imagine how you experience the space.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mikako-san, because you need to experience the space, experience the building. So that's why I can see your experience similar like my experience. We love to travel. When you travel, you meet people, and then you experience that particular building. Then you will understand based on your senses, and then I mean it's not copycat, but you've been inspired that So
if you never building you're gonna design, or if you never seen great one, you cannot design more than that. Or either, if you're a genius, maybe it's something else. But usually, it's more experience you have, better building you can design. That's what I believe.
True enough. There's a question for you, Mikako-san. Biggest challenge accountant. Can you share your experience? What is your biggest challenge? There's one
biggest
student
challenge. Convince your client to pay.
Exactly.
Yes, I think that's the one of the biggest challenge, and but that's the most interesting part of the architecture life, aren't you?
Actually, your answer is similar to my answer when the students or people ask me what is your biggest challenge. My biggest challenge is about dealing with people. Especially we want to get our fees back. It's the biggest challenge. That's true. That's true.
When you design building, you feel like it's almost your baby. But when the day is completed, it's not yours. It's a client.
Exactly. Yes, belongs to the client. Yes. Okay. There's a question. There's a question from Jason. Yeah, Jason from Masa. When striving for a different direction, so what is the difficulties that you faced before?
Different direction.
Yeah, when you, I understand what Jason means, that when you have a different direction in certain times striving. So what is the difficult things that you face?
I mean, if I got question correct, as an architect, and I'm a little bit, I have my team, and architect always has to be the one that kind of like becoming a pivot of the project, and then you have to coordinate with structure engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, landscape, cost estimator, like you name it, whoever that you have to work with, and you are the one always has to take the lead for the project usually. So if you change your mind like every time, no one will follow it. So for me that this the becoming like sort of the center of this tree, the spine of the project, is the most important thing, or think about it. And sometimes when you are designing small things, you get into too small details, and then you kind of lose everything. But I try to have big picture where we are going for, and try not to lose the direction. And then focus on the every issue that I have to solve. Every day I have too many issues and I have to solve it, but I always have this biggest target that I always looking into. So try not to lose the big picture during designing or during construction.
Okay, lovely. Okay, Mikako, this will be the last question for tonight. Okay, kind of a funny question I can share with you now. Just now you mentioned that you are stubborn students before. Okay, now what if the client's request challenges your principles or your rules? Are you going to be stand with your stubborn things, or you being ethical? You stand with your words. So how you want to face this?
Okay, if client against my idea means I was not able to convince him, right? So your story wasn't good enough for the client. So you has to. This is one of the biggest challenge for the architecture, not like art. Artifact or art, you can do it, and then the price comes after. But architecture usually price comes before than you design because you have an architect fee. So that's the different part of art and architecture for me. So you always have to be able to convince yourself. And if the client doesn't say yes, you have to, if you really want to do this idea and you believe that is correct, you try to convince him. You try to look at different the tools to show, for example, if client didn't like this angle, but maybe this angle looks beautiful, or maybe the movie that he could convince. And I try to use different tools or different media or different way of approach, or okay, you have to explain him like why this is great. For example, how we can save money, or how we can meet the code by doing this. And you always have to convince the client if you really want to do it. And if client doesn't ask, and if you have enough fees you already have, you just leave. We can't even be able to do it, no, but yes.
Exactly. because your answer, I can echo to the one of the viewers, Ariani Dini. She asked you that, what happened that if your concept or maybe been criticized or disliked your idea, so what is your action? I think that's the best answer. That's why I keep saying to you, keep saying to the viewers tonight, to become an architect, to do design, to do the progress, manage the project on site is a small challenges. I can consider that, but to deal with people, I think that's the biggest challenge.
The client is the biggest challenge. Definitely.
So my friend, my best friend here, my good friend here, as architect Azlin Jamdu said to you, that is amazing design that you showcased to us. She loved your ambience, the buildings, the love nature. Congratulations to you, Mikako. She just said to you.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, okay. So in that case, so I really, I admire your works.
Thank you so much.
Tell about your Japanese architecture, make me want to go back to Japan again. This time around I should go to other places as well, Osaka perhaps.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
Yes.
I definitely will visit you in Tokyo again.
Definitely, and all the viewers that whoever is listening, please come.
Hopefully that all these pandemic issues settle,
yes,
and hopefully,
definitely.
like what I told you just now, I hope that we can invite you physically to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Yes, next to Chili Club.
Yes, in Malacca.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Architect Mikako, for the wonderful and very rich sharing. I hope all the viewers will enjoy it and gain a lot of information and been inspiring. That's the most important thing, is about to try and inspire people so that they can be great in whatever they want to do. So you have done your obligation here. I thank you so much. We are so happy to be with you tonight, Mikako. Is there any final words, especially for the student? Any final words from you, especially the students here? Any advice? Be stubborn. All right. Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you.
My dear viewers, terima kasih. My dear viewers, especially for the student, be stubborn, but try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value. All right. So I hope to see you again. We keep in touch from time to time. You be safe. Be safe. Thank you so much. Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato. Oyasumi.
Sayonara, Mikako.
Sayonara.
All right, I pass the floor to our MC tonight. Guma, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Architect Ardianta. Thank you, Architect Mikako, for giving us an interesting and eye-opening sharing, as well as giving us a very useful advice, especially being stubborn. I love that advice. As an architecture student, I really love that advice. Okay, so all right. Thank you everyone for joining us for tonight's online sharing session. Okay, thank you again to our special guest, Architect Mikako Oshima, for sharing us our experiences, your experiences. Okay, I hope you guys really enjoyed it and gained a lot of knowledge. And very big thank you to Architect Ardianta for being the moderator. All right. Last but not least, I'd like to thank Pam and ARCHIDEX for giving us opportunity to collaboration in ARCHIDEX 2021. Okay. So do keep in touch with us and follow us on Masa's Instagram and Facebook for more updates. And do check out ARCHIDEX online for more interesting webinar session. Also, if you haven't already yet, you can also register for PAM membership at mypam.org.my. There are a lot of benefits for architecture students. All right. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We'll catch you next time. Have a good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Sayonara. Be safe, everybody.
Sayonara.
Bye.